about the pre-season now that it's come to an end and you're ready for round one? Is everyone feeling pretty good?
Yeah, pretty relieved, to be fair. Like, it's been 9 months, 10 months of training and preparation. So, to go through 14 weeks of a pre-season to get to the line finally is a relief. But at the same time, there's an air of excitement clearly around another AFLW season, which is looking to be a really competitive one across the board. So, it's been a really enjoyable period, but challenging at the same time. But here we are, which is great.
How do you assess the pre-season? Do you look at it as a case of, obviously playing that game just recently against Adelaide, having the loss? Do you break it down as much as you might in season, or do you just look at more the processes and the slight improvements that the group's made over the course of the weeks that have just gone?
A little bit of both. There's been a fair bit of strategy and thinking post last season. Clearly, we're disappointed with finishing the way we did against the Kangaroos in the first final. So we went away as a coaching group and a playing group and kind of tracked our next step in our development. So a lot of work in the pre-season has been around us getting better. Clearly, there's a theme around the competition with the rule changes for fatigue and scoring and opportunities around that space. So it's an area we need to get better at. So a lot of our pre-season was formed off the back of that, obviously solidifying a lot of our strengths from last season as well. But to play Collingwood in wet conditions and do okay, and then to play Adelaide again in what was a fantastic arena and in front of their home crowd and a really good team. For us to go back now and look at how we've trained a certain system away and see it play out against a quality opposition was what we're after, and that's the stuff we revisited. To score 50 points against Adelaide is no mean feat, we believe, and we think it holds us in good stead going forward. So there was some reflection post game around the last 14 weeks and 9 months of thinking and strategy, and we think we're on the right track, which is promising.
Obviously, after making finals last year and, as you said, getting knocked out in the way that you did, do you sort of set expectations on the year as early as now, like going into the season, or is it the cliche sort of take it week by week and try and sort of get small improvements over the course of the season?
I don't think there's expectation, mate. I think we've spent a lot of time just building a culture around standards, and I think there's a certain standard now that the group measure themselves off, which if you meet those standards and work towards those areas, then there might be some positive outcomes, but nothing's guaranteed. Like, we remind our players that we got to a final series, we got knocked out in the first final, and which means we finished 7th. So what's our expectation moving forward? Is just to be as good as last season or to keep improving, and I think off the back of our standards and culture, to be competitive, to show effort, might give us some positive results. But that's what we're looking forward to tomorrow, a test against opposition for the first time. Not beating ourselves up at training, but certainly trying to make sure that we bring that effort and that competitiveness and a certain standard that we meet. And then who knows what the outcome will be, but we're not going to hang our hats on expectation. It's just around those things.
Obviously, the group's the vast majority of the group has been here for the last year or so now. Do you feel like that sort of continuity in the group sort of impacts the way you can train and how you want to play going into round one?
Yeah, it helps, clearly. Like, you look at Melbourne and Collingwood and the Kangaroos and the teams that have been around the competition since the beginning, and that continuity and consistency with their playing group clearly adds elements of performance that work in their favour. To be fair, in the last couple of seasons we've changed nearly 20 players on our list, so we haven't had the continuity over a duration of 3 or 4 seasons. But what we've done over the last three seasons in particular is just build from a playing group that's been there from the beginning. I'm talking about the Becky Websters, Nina Morrison, these types of players who underpin the beginning of our change process, but have been there from the start. So we've added value around them, but also quality people that can add value to our whole program. So we're looking forward to seeing what the continuity and the retention rate from our team from the last 12 months, 18 months looks like, but also just how we've changed our football in particular.
Obviously, looking at the Western Bulldogs as the opponent this week, finished relatively similar in terms of the record last year where they slotted in on the ladder. Does that sort of add anything to the game, sort of knowing that their ambitions on the season are probably pretty similar?
Oh, I think it does. I think, yeah, you'd be a fool to think that, tomorrow is just a regular game. Like, we all know that we talk about the AFLW being a series of 10 games. So, to finish it around a similar level, they've got a really strong playing group. Again, they've been consistent for a number of years as well. They're quality players that play through their midfield, up front, and their defence. So they're going to be a really tough game, and we respect them highly. We've got our own points to prove as well. So, we're looking forward to going out against what we know is a really quality opposition. And we had a win against them last year in Ballarat. Great conditions, which was surprising at Mars Stadium. But we felt like we controlled the game for the most part. But they're good players, stand up when it counts. And they're a great team in last quarters. They score beautifully in the last quarter. So we want to make sure that we're on for the entire game. And with Blackburn and Lamb and Edmonds, and I can name a whole range of players. Like, we need to respect them highly. So. There's a lot in the line in regards to, what's the next crop of teams coming up to challenge what everyone calls the Big Four? Are we going to be in that crop, or are we just going to be in that middle group that just continues to, win some, lose some? Like, we need to be, I think both teams are trying to put their stamp on the competition from here.
Obviously, looking at you mentioned it before, the attacking group seemed to improve or have a really good performance against Adelaide in that pre-season game, but also over the course of the second half of last season seemed to really kick into gear. Do you see it sort of being a strength going into round one, or is it something that might need a little bit of work as the season goes on?
Oh, I think it'll be a work in progress. I think it was just Shelley Scott going from defence to forward solved all our problems, apparently. No, I think moving forward, it's just been a whole system-based approach in regards to just getting the right people into play those positions and just having some stronger cohesion. Kate Darby's been around the program for a long period of time, and she just keeps getting better and better. And then you throw in Jackie Parry and her mobility. Lots to talk about with Chloe Shear and her ability up forward as well. So we've got some really good targets to kick the ball to. And then we add in, our new Irish recruit, Aisling Maloney, who throws in something completely different again. The Gaelic game and AFL game suits her style. So, we're hopeful that we can keep building our attack. We had some great games against Sydney and St Kilda last season, where we scored freely, but that's not guaranteed. Games against the Bombers as well, we scored pretty well, but I think it's going to be a work in progress throughout the season. Longer quarters, again, fatigue factor. We talk about the fatigue guaranteeing scoring. I'm not too sure it guarantees scores. Does the fundamental drop off the back of fatigue? You would think it would, but we've trained enough to think that we're going to be okay.
I was just going to ask you about Aisling, obviously making her debut, but Erin as well returning to football and playing her first game, as well, and then Renee as well coming back to the group. What's it like sort of having a few new players and fresh faces that weren't around last season?
Oh, it's always exciting to have a bit more banter, a bit more laugh, new faces around the group. Erin's been fabulous. As soon as she flagged that she would be keen to play again, it was a no-brainer for us. We wanted to make sure we keep bolstering our midfield group, and the work Liv Fuller's been doing for a couple of seasons. She's going up against taller players every week, and she's done a hell of a job. But hopefully, Erin can give her some support. So Erin's tried from the very, very beginning to get herself prepared, and she's got to the line. So, we've got to make sure that we don't forget it's been 4 years since she's played the game. So, we'll give her every chance to get better. And this week against Edmonds, what an amazing opportunity to go against a premier ruck in the competition. So she's really excited around that. We've mentioned Aisling already, and her counterpart, Anna Rose Kennedy, from the same county in Ireland, who, she'll get her opportunity the way she's progressing as well. And the story with Renee, we're all very clear with the story with Renee, just 12 months of having a family and getting back to the condition to play. And, she gets her chance, not because of luck, it's off the back of absolute elite standards and the way she prepares for preparation around her game and her body and her everything, basically. She's just a standard setter for our team. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she goes tomorrow.
And just last one from me, is there anyone in particular that sort of stuck out for you as a big improver in the training contract this pre-season, or is that sort of one of those questions that you don't like answering as a coach?
No, I don't mind it. There's been a lot. Again, we've had 8-9 months to to get better, and different players at different times have shown, you know, moments where they've shown great improvement. Darcy Maloney is one for me that I think if you go back through the archives every other year, they'd say that she's improved again, and she's just, you know, continues to get stronger and stronger and become more natural as a forward, as a mid. That's just her maturity, really. But she's someone who's extremely driven to get better. You look at Nina Morrison as well. Like, she's you know, coming back from obviously her history around injury, but she's got stronger. She's faster again. Georgie Bespark has had her moments as well. I could name many more. Chloe Shear looks as fit as she's ever looked, and she's looking as powerful as she ever has. So, yeah, there's just a few names to say the least. And then we'd like to think some of our younger players can maybe surprise us a bit with their progression. So Zali Frizzell will be another one that I'm thinking about, that hopefully tomorrow she can show, you know, just some of those snippets that she showed over pre-season. So, no, as a playing group and a coaching group, really excited about our whole list, but those names in particular have clearly stood out over the block.